Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's February 17th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop, Pacific Northwest to the upper right. There's the Hawaiian Islands to the bottom left. Storm track is going to be pointed at the Pacific Northwest for the next week or more. Some strong frontal systems potentially. There's going to be off and on mountain snows. There's going to be some snowfall still occurring east of the mountains as well for places like Spokane, Idaho, Montana, but we are going to be warming things up across the region as we get the southwest flow going as we go on through next week. We'll take a look at those details here as we go through the video this morning. Take a look here. We up over 95, 452 now, and a year ago at this time we were at 61,000. So again, thanks for everybody for clicking subscribe, and I'd like to thanks my supporting monthly members out there. They're giving their hard-earned money, and you guys make this channel possible. So again, thank you very much. You can click that join button down below if you want to help support the channel. Now, taking a look at Spokane. Look, it's still snowing over there. It's snowing at Mullen Pass right now as well. Missoula, Montana, 27 and snow. And you can see some areas of eastern Oregon have now gone above freezing, so that is good to see. However, you see Baker is still slightly below freezing there as well. And watch out for the next few days. You know, the overnight lows and the early morning lows out there could bring some refreezing of some of the melting ongoing. If we take a look up here towards Omak, it's still light snow right now as well. And you can see things definitely have warmed up west of the Cascades. If I zoom in a little bit there, you see what Seattle is about. You know, we're looking at some 40s out there for the Puget Sound. You're looking at 40s for the coast. You got 50 at Salem this morning with some light rain falling as well. So look at Spokane this morning. 8 inches of snow at the airport officially on the ground. Also got a bit of ice accretion there yesterday as well. Looked like some freezing drizzle at times took place. But yeah, some snow continues to fall. Might have picked up another inch on top of all that winter wonderland over there for Spokane. And a heads up here, if you're going out to the coastline today or tomorrow, watch out for the beach hazard statements. This goes through tonight there, but we're going to get an increase of wave as these frontal systems move towards the coastline as well. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And if we scroll through this, you can kind of see the increased wave action here for today. And then we've got this interesting system rolling towards the coastline. We get some locally large waves here towards the Oregon coast. And depending on where this low makes landfall as we go on in through the day Wednesday, you know, it'll help increase the wave heights there. And then you can see the additional frontal systems keeping waves elevated as we go on in through the extended forecast. So here we go with a Spokane National Weather Service. You can see 1 to 2 additional inches. You got winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings are still up, especially across the higher terrain. If I click on that, this goes through Monday night. Look at Lookout Pass, potentially another foot. Spokane, another 1 to 2 inches there. Not expecting anything else for Pasco or Walla Walla. Things are starting to warm up for some of the lower elevations, but you got to watch the refreezing in the overnight and early morning hours. Now, looking at Spokane again here, 13 inches so far, but we know we've added at least 2 inches to that because there's 8 inches of snow on the ground. There was 6 inches yesterday and probably another inch on top of that. So yeah, a fairly snowy February so far for the Inland Empire there, Spokane, Washington. Looking at Pendleton, we've been dealing with some of the lower elevation freezing rain at times, but that is going to be wrapping up as we go towards the mid and end of the week coming up here. Warmer chance of mountain snows as we start to flood the region, at least the lower elevations, with some warmer air. So you know, the pattern change is incoming here. And Great Falls, Montana National Weather Service. Look at this extreme cold warning and a lot of winter storm warnings out there. If we take a look at this extreme cold warning, dangerously cold wind chills as low as 50 below expected. So you can kind of see that it takes a lot to trigger something like that east of the Rockies here, but that'll do it. 50 below wind chill. You can see, you know, it can really cause frostbite really quickly when the temperatures are that cold. Now, if you guys want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below. Save 10% off. Help support the channel. Makes it very fun to watch the weather. It does its own forecast for you as well. Lightning detection system. Great smartphone app. Now, apparent temperature. And you can see, again, you can kind of see how things are warmer west of the Cascades, a bit chillier east, and then you can see the bone-chilling temperatures off to the east of the Rocky Mountains. There again, some wind chills potentially down towards negative 50 Fahrenheit. And yeah, you can kind of see that as I scroll through the next 60 hours or so. Yeah, we're done with the freezing temperatures here for Seattle, Portland, Willamette Valley, up into southwest BC for the meantime, unless you get across some of the higher terrains. However, for eastern portions, you still have that refreezing potential as you go into the morning hours. So be very careful with that if you're headed out early in the morning. Now, the next system up that starts to look a little bit interesting rolls in here on Tuesday. And I want to show you some of the model disagreement we are having. Look at the European with this fairly robust low pressure system here. I mean, it's not that deep of a low, but look at the pressure gradient on the south side. But also look at the discrepancy between the North American model and the European model on just where this is going to set up. This is going to bring a widespread blustery frontal system here across, southwest BC, Washington, and Oregon. Not a bad pressure gradient there, but look at this. Southwest Oregon and some of the central coast would be really under the gun if what the European and some of the GFS models are showing here, and some blustery conditions in towards the Willamette Valley. Not a region-wide windstorm, but still strong enough we were going to watch this. And, again, this is going to be, even if the NAM were to verify, this would still bring some pretty blustery conditions with it. So if we now compare it to the GFS, we already saw the NAM, but let's see what the GFS shows. These are 12Z runs. And again, you can kind of see how that pressure gradient much stronger on the GFS and the European than what is showing on the NAM, even though that would still be fairly blustery and windy. And you can see the GFS, pretty big differences here coming up. So we'll be watching that system very closely here over tomorrow morning as well. That'll be Tuesday morning. This thing should be rolling in late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So we get one more day to look at that frontal system. Now, looking at the European. So this is precipitable water, Hawaiian Islands, bottom left. There's Washington State. You can kind of watch these atmospheric rivers rolling across the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Here we go with the European developing that system right there. And you can see it moving into the Oregon coast. It'd be another fairly substantial rainmaker here across much of the Pacific Northwest. Snow for the higher terrain, of course. And then we get a tiny bit of a break here. And then we bring another fairly robust frontal system across the region as we go through the, what is that, Friday, on the day Friday through Friday night. And then we set up for a more substantial atmospheric river potential right at the end of last night's European run. Check that thing out. And you can see why people would nickname this the Pineapple Express. The Pineapple Express is a nickname for an atmospheric river. So, yeah, kind of interesting looking there. And this one drops some pretty heavy rainfall across some of the areas. We'll show you that here in a moment. But if we look at that here quickly in the 6-hour map, again, that strong frontal system there, mainly moving into Oregon. We've got to watch the track on that one here because that trends north a bit more, bring more widespread wind across the area. And then this next frontal system rolls through, and then the atmospheric river sets up right at the last frame there across the Northeast Pacific into the Pacific Northwest. And I put this on X yesterday. I had to share this with everybody again. This was almost a year ago when I took this. You can see the lightning strike hitting the Puget Sound there. I caught this one, and this was a flight going to Japan. My friend was on this flight. I didn't know until after I got the image. I printed it out and gave it to him. But yeah, interesting stuff. You can see the plane right there, in through the nose cone, out through the tail, and down into the Puget Sound here. One of my lifetime dream shots that I finally got. Maybe I'll try to get another one here at some point this year. Now, if we take a look at the European model, this is through the end of the month, and you can see big-time rainfall totals coming for Vancouver Island, Southwest BC, higher terrain, Washington, Cascades, Oregon, coastal range as well. Some big amounts potential across some of central and southern Washington, Southwest Washington, and the Willamette Valley. Those are big rainfall amounts as well. But these atmospheric rivers and some of these frontal systems, of course, they drop a lot of their precipitation across the higher terrain, and you get kind of the rain shadowing effect east. But still, not some bad precipitation amounts for like the Blue Mountains and for some of the Rocky Mountains off across Idaho and British Columbia. So if we take a look at the GFS, let's see what it shows here. What kind of similarities do we have? Well, it shows something similar to the European there with the pretty robust frontal system coming up as we go through the day Wednesday. It'd be a rainmaker, a bit of a break. Let's see. On the day Thursday, we're kind of wrapping up that precipitation here across the region. So Thursday may be mainly dry. And then Friday looks like it may be mainly dry as well before we get another frontal system there as we go Friday night into Saturday morning. And then the more sinister atmospheric river starts to set up here and starts to push back up into the Pacific Northwest. You see that rain kind of off and on with some additional frontal systems and low pressure systems moving towards the Pacific Northwest. In fact, let me update that and we'll bounce back out to hour 183 where we just left off because this is running hot off the press as we got more data coming in. And then you can see the GFS wants to finally give us a break as we go towards the end of the month. Some additional weak systems sliding through there as well. Actually looks like almost like a bit of a pattern change at the very end, but we're not going to pay too much attention to that right now. And these atmospheric rivers, this is looking top down. You can kind of see how they are narrow bands of integrated vapor transport based on duration is how we measure atmospheric rivers. And this is a cross section. Imagine you're standing out over the Pacific Ocean, maybe on a barge or something. And you can see this is only 3,000, 3,500 meters up in the atmosphere. So when that slams into the mountain ranges there, you can see how these lose a lot of their punch and why the rain shadow effect is so dramatic on the leeward side of our mountain ranges when we're dealing with these atmospheric rivers. Now, also looking at the snowfall totals, let me update that because, again, the GFS is running as we speak. And we're going to build a little bit of the snowpack here, but this is not the most favorable pattern for the mountain snows. And I haven't looked at the 12Z data going out too far yet, but you see, as we're 160 hours out, you're adding, maybe 8, 10, 12 inches, Stevens Pass. It's not that much because you're getting some warming with the initial arrival of some of these systems, and you get some cooler air behind that'll drop a few inches. So you're going through the phases where things could be even melting a bit, and then you get new snow on top of that, back and forth. You're getting all these new layers, maybe some refreezing and whatnot. So not the great northwest flow pattern where we're just building up huge amounts across some of the mountain ranges here, but the higher peaks should do okay. But yeah, we are going to be warming up, especially with the atmospheric river that comes through as we go through next weekend. And in advance of some of these frontal systems here, we will be warming up at times, but then kind of bringing that snow level back down. So back and forth. Now, something interesting I showed yesterday as well, total precipitation in inches. This is the European ensemble members. So this is member 1 through 25 here. And you can kind of see the Pacific Northwest there. And a pretty good model agreement here through hour 144 with the Pacific Northwest getting some pretty decent precipitation amounts. And I've zoomed in here. You can kind of give you a better picture of that. And it's just kind of something interesting looking. You can look at members 26 through 50 as well. Then there's another website that I can visit where I can look at the individual ensemble members themselves. So you could cherry pick some of the more interesting ones. I don't like to do that because I want to show the ensemble mean and give you a more accurate picture of what's going to occur. But just kind of showing you there's, the zoomed in view of some of the ensemble members. Now, 8 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at the west versus the east here as we go through the second half of February. There's a 6 to 10 day. Still got that sharp cutoff somewhere right across southern Oregon, Idaho, and into portions of Montana. But look at that across the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, got that above average signal still going. There's the 8 to 14 day again, above average for the west. And again, above average across a lot of the Pacific Northwest as we go through the March 2nd timeframe. And I was hoping we were going to bounce back a little bit better here, but you saw some of the snow totals don't look that good as we go through the next week to 10 days, and we are below normal across Washington state. So not great. I mean, for a La Nina year, this is much less than what we were hoping for, and you can see that affects portions of the Idaho Panhandle and western Montana below normal as well. So, maybe things will change a little bit, or we'll get some kind of a pattern change, especially as we go on in through March. And again, call before you go out there across the higher terrain. Considerable avalanche danger across the Cascades. And you can kind of see Mount Hood is right there in the Olympic Mountains also. And the drought monitor has not been updated. But let's do this here really quick because we're going to jump back towards the GFS. So we're going to go towards the European weeklies. We'll go to, and we're going to bounce out a little bit here as well. And we're going to go to North America. And we're going to take a look at something here. We're going to go to Upper Air Heights, and we're going to go to 500 millibar heights. And we're going to see what March looks like because previous runs a couple days ago have been showing us go through some kind of a cooler pattern change. So as we go through February, you can see the Gulf of Alaska troughing, the ridging here across the southwest USA, that warm, moist southwest flow, keeping, these systems on the warmer side of things. That's why it's going to be tough to build up a lot of snow across the higher terrain, although we will build some. But as we go on in through the early portion of March, let's see, do we have that trough? We do. Yeah, it does continue to show some of this troughing here for Western Canada in the European ensemble, the weekly ensembles. Now, remember, this did a really good job of picking out the colder pattern here that we had for the month of February. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So right now, maybe a little bit higher confidence than normal in a cooler than normal March coming up here. You can still flirt with lower elevation snowfall as you go through March, especially the first half of March. But, we are rapidly dropping off the ability to get snow to the lower elevations. But look at that, hangs all the way on in through the month of March, the signal across some of Western Canada there. So yeah, it's been just showing that for a while. And in fact, let's back up to the previous run on that as well and just kind of scroll through this. So here we go. We're at February 28th. Let's see, do we get that Western Canada trough to show up? We do. The European is pretty locked in on that. So kind of interesting there. So we may be headed for a cooler than normal March as we go through the extended forecast. But anyway, I'll get this video out now. A lot of rain incoming here, multiple systems. Continue to watch that one on Tuesday night into Wednesday and its development and where it's going to make landfall. And we'll break everything down again tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys then.